Hello, everyone. Welcome to the TradeStation Masterclass. Today is September 12th. It is our Platform Essentials series, and we're going to talk about the scanner in just a moment. Before I do so, here are some introductions and disclosures. My name is Jesus Nava. I'm the Director of Client Training and Education for TradeStation Securities, and it was always great to talk about the TradeStation technology. When it comes to disclosures, keep in mind that every symbol and idea that I talk about is for educational purposes only. These are not recommendations of TradeStation, and that past historical performance is no guarantee of future results. Oh, and one last thing, active trading may not be suitable for everyone. Just keep that in mind. If you want more details on these disclosures, go to www.tradestation.com/important information. All right, so today we're going to talk about the scanner and how to filter the symbol universe using the scanner. So let's go ahead and pull up the platform. It's a topic that we've done in the past, but there are certain applications inside of TradeStation that I choose to do more often than others because of their popularity and because of their effect on what you can accomplish with them. The scanner is one of those tools because it's just incredible the amount of things that you can put into the scanner in terms of filters, so that you can get a curated or a filtered list of symbols that pretty much, are symbols that meet certain criteria that are candidates that you would want to trade. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Let's go ahead and go to apps, and I'm going to pull up the scanner. I may have some scans already created inside my scanner, which is totally fine. Let me just open it up. You can see that the scanner is divided in two main panels. The one on the left-hand side allows you to organize your scans. And you can, by default, they're sorted in alphabetical order, but you can create folders. You can do a lot of things, to organize them on the left-hand side. And this will give you a record of every single time that you've run a scan as well. And the panel here on the right-hand side has 4 different tabs at the bottom. It gives you, for the most part, the results of the scan, which symbols met the criteria. So that's the tab that's currently visible. You also have another tab that says added dropped, settings, and log. We're going to take a look at each one of these tabs and how does it help you in filtering the symbol universe. But let's go ahead and get started with, well, first of all, let's talk about sample scans. Let me right click. And when you right click on the scanner, you get this option that says, well, not from the right click menu. I thought I would see here. Oh, here it is. View TradeStation sample scans. For a moment, I just couldn't see it. So View TradeStation sample scans provides you this little floating window. Let me just resize it with scans that you can use right out of the box. You can resize this window so you can see more. The sample scans that are provided with a TradeStation scanner are provided not as a recommendation, but more of how to set it up. And you can see that some scans are set up as chart patterns scans, growth and value, technical, value, and that's it. Those are the main categories here in sample scans, and you can click on each one of them to see how they're built. As I said before, these are not recommendations, but it does give you a pretty good idea of some of the great combinations that you can create. One of the things, or one of the characteristics or features that sets the scanner apart from any other scanner applications that you see out there in the industry is that you can combine quote data. When I say quote data, I'm talking about price, volume, bid, whatever value is provided as a real-time quote. That is what we refer to as quote data. You can access quote data. You also have access to fundamental data. Of course, this applies to stocks, but you can also, filter the stock universe based on some fundamental data. And third, you can also mix in some technical calculations. So it's a very robust application in terms of what are the types of filters that you can add and the flexibility that it provides you to customize those particular filters. And we're going to take a look at different examples here. And one thing that I wanted to point out is that the scanner is a window that helps you when you're scanning the stock universe of symbols. The reason for that is because we have over 12,000 symbols that you can trade when you're trading equities. When it comes to futures, there's not that many different commodities that you can trade. In fact, if you are a futures trader, instead of using the scanner to look for, signals and opportunities, I would rather use Radar Screen. Radar Screen is a tool that we are probably going to talk about towards the end of the week. I believe Friday we have a presentation on Radar Screen. But when you're a futures trader, there's no need for you to filter across commodities using the scanner, because you can just let Radar Screen do all the work for you. So when we look at the scanner, we're looking at a way for us to filter the whole universe of symbols so that you can have a more manageable list. It's impossible for you to keep track of 12,000 symbols, but it is possible for you to add, 30 or 40 or even 50 different commodities into Radar Screen. That's doable. So the scanner is a tool that was designed with stocks in mind. Although when you go here to the symbol list, you're going to see futures and you're going to see other things that you can also utilize inside of the scanner. So as I said before, here's the TradeStation sample scans. You can use any of the scans that have been created. They're meant to be more as guides, so you can see how things are built. And you can use any of the ones that are here. Big movers is one that I use as an example because, as you guys know, I don't like to overcomplicate things. There are things that are complicated in themselves, so why add to the complexity? Once we go over into creating our own scan, I may get some or request some feedback from you guys so we can get some ideas on what cool scans we can create. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at big movers. Big movers is already added to my list of scans. One thing you can do if you want to use any of these sample scans is click and drag. So if I want to do, for example, cheap stocks with big returns. So this is looking for stocks with PE, PS, and PB lower than the industry averages. Let me use this one instead. I always use big movers, but let's use cheap stocks with big returns just to change it up a bit, okay? I'm going to click it, and I'm going to drag it inside this left pane of the scanner. Is like dropping the scan inside of the left panel. I drop it in there, and you can see that it automatically adds it to the list in alphabetical order. It's second from the top, and it's highlighted cheap stocks with, let me open up my column here, big returns. All right. Once you select the scans you want, you can do multiple scans at the same time from the sample scans. Once you're done adding those scans into the scanner, you can close out of this window. Okay. It's okay, Marcel. This is the scanner. So we just go here to apps and click on scanner. My scanner is probably going to look different than yours because I've already added some scans here on the left-hand side. So as you build your scan library, everybody's scan is going to look different because you are, choosing what to put in there. If it's the first time you pull up the scanner, you won't have anything here on the left-hand side. So you either have to go to the sample scans or you have to create one from scratch. Okay, this is one from the scanner. This is one from the sample scans. One thing that I'm also going to do is I'm going to give you the ability to use your microphones, because I know that sometimes it's easier to explain things, out loud than having to type it. So you're welcome to pitch in if you want to. Make sure that if you're sending, comment in the chat or questions in the chat, that you set the chat window to everyone so we can all follow along. So let's go ahead and take a look at cheap stocks with big returns. While it's highlighted, I can click on the customize button here below, which gives me access to the details of this scan. The scan criteria tab, by the way, is going to list every single filter that is applied in this scan. The first row on the list of filters is description. Description is kind of cool because it tells you the name of the corporation. Sometimes we may know what the symbol is by looking at just the ticker, but a lot of times, we look at the ticker and we say, what company is this? And sometimes you get them mixed up. So having a description allows you to see exactly what the name of the corporation is. And sometimes it gives you an idea based on the name of what, industry they're in. If it's pharmaceuticals, if it's, consumer or whatever the industry it is, sometimes the name gives it away. The second row, it's closed between 10 and 100. So you can have a range of prices. The third row is volume average 3 months, greater than 500,000. Market cap, greater than 100 million. Then it looks at a series of percent change. For the past 5 days, it must be at least, 0. So no downward turning stocks. We want everything to be turning up or at least flat for the past 5 days. So greater than 0. Not equal to 0, but greater than 0. So we want some upward movement. For the last 13 weeks, we want it to be greater than 5. For the past 26 weeks, greater than 10. And for the past 52, positive upward momentum. But then it looks at some fundamental data. Let's take a look at how interesting this is. PE has to be lower than the industry PE. PS has to be lower than the industry PS. And the PB has to be less than the industry PB. If you want to know what each one of these represents, you can just click on it. For example, if you're not really sure what PB stands for, you highlight it, and right here at the bottom, it gives you a description of what it is. This is the current price divided by the latest interim period book value per share. So you can already tell that this is a scan that's looking for cheap stocks compared to their PE, PS, and PB values when you look at the industry levels, and also stocks that are giving you some positive returns that have an upward movement, at least on long positions. If you're wanting to trade short, then I would, switch those operators so that's less than, so it's on the negative side. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to run this and see what results I get. All right, my scanner goes directly to the log. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the log is telling us. Right here at the very top, I'm not sure if the font is really, it looks really small on your side, but I'll read what it says up there. It says it added all stocks to the symbol universe, and the universe size is 12,131. The symbol universe is a setting that is built into the scan. I did not have to choose the universe because it was already selected for me. This is the scan that I just ran, cheap stocks with big returns, was doing it on all stocks. And it found that it was more than 12,131 symbols in that universe. That's pretty massive if you think about it. If you guys have been to my radar screen presentations before, you know that radar screen has a certain limitation to the number of symbols that it can follow. You can have up to 2,000 if you're just looking at quote data, but once you start combining it with technical indicators, the maximum is 1,000. That's the reason why if you're a stock trader and you want to open up yourselves to the whole universe, then the scanner is going to be a great tool for you to narrow that universe down to something that you can track either on radar screen or try to find specific gems in the industry. Otherwise, it'd be very difficult for you to monitor and track 12,000 symbols. You can see that my results show 0. No previous scan executions, no additions, no symbols dropped. What happened here is that the scan was a little bit too restrictive. Not restrictive, or maybe the market conditions don't really lend themselves to providing you any symbols under these categories. This is we saw a lot of filters. It was looking at price appreciation. It was looking at market cap. It was looking at PE. Let's go ahead and take a look at the criteria, because as it is, we can modify the criteria on the fly to see which one of the symbols is the one that's resulting in us getting a 0 symbol. If I go to the results, you can see that no symbols met the selected criteria. Whenever you get this message, doesn't mean that you did something wrong. It's just that, there's no symbols that met the criteria, and that's it. Now we have to sit here and say, okay, which one is it that is giving us that restriction? So let's go over here to customize. And I'm looking at the list of filters here. The nice thing about the check boxes that you see on the left-hand side is that you can disable certain filters and see if you get any results. One thing that I'm going to do is, I don't want my scan to look back this further. It looks at 52 weeks. I'm not even going to look at the 26 weeks. So let's go ahead and uncheck those two. By unchecking them, you're telling the scanner, don't take into account that filter, skip it, and let's see if we get any results. I can run it now and see if I get anything. This is no symbols met the criteria. So I think it's the fundamentals that are giving us some problems here. Let's go to customize. And let's say, for example, we want to remove the last two, price to sales, price to book. We'll leave here price to earnings, and make sure that that's less than the industry. Let's go ahead and run this. Okay, when we run that, notice that we removed a couple of the fundamental pieces. We can already see that that's probably what's making this throw 0 results. When it's looking at price to earnings, price to sales, and price to book, maybe it's a little bit too much for the scan. We can find out exactly what it is, So I'm going to come here, and first of all, let me see how many symbols are here. Let me go to the log. So from the 12,131, 201 symbols meet the criteria. If I go here to customize, let's leave price to sales. Let's leave that on. And let's run this one more time. So we have 126. All right, so you can see that it gives us price to earnings, and it's priced in the industry price to earnings average, which is interesting. So it's below the industry. Here's price to sales, and here's the industry. So you can compare it. Now, if you want to see, price to book, instead of disabling, one thing that I can do is one thing that I could do is price to book, but I'm just going to display it. And then on this other one, I may want to do industry what I'm looking for is the one that I had seen over here, industry P. Here it is, industry, the most recent PE book. Where is it? Was it this one? Was that the one we were looking at, the PTB? Now I can't undo it, but I think, what's this right here? Doesn't give me a description though. So let's go here at valuation ratios, open this up. Financial strength. That's not the one that I want. Let's see. Let's open up common. PE. So we have the PB that's the one we're using at the very top. Financial strength. Let's go here under profitability. It would be industry values right here, not the company. Valuations. Here it is, PB, and I can display that. There we go. And I can run this. So that way, oh, this is not showing me. Maybe that's what's causing the problem. You see, I'm getting a value on industry. This is the industry PB, industry PS. What happened to my individual? So the PB, oh, I don't have it checked. Let's PB, let's run it. Okay, so maybe that's what's causing the 0 symbols. It's the fact that we don't have an industry value for price to book. You see that little I inside the cell? It says no data. So when we use a filter inside of the scanner that has no data, you're probably going to get errors like this. And it's good that we're using this as an example, because you're going to sit there and try to use the scanner, and sometimes you're going to find things that are probably not working. So checking and unchecking specific filters when you customize the scanner is going to allow you understand what effect a particular filter has on the results, especially if you're getting 0 results when running the scan. So I'm going to come here to customize, and I'm going to just uncheck those two. I'm not going to use PB. Maybe if I want to use PB but not compare it to industry, maybe that's something that I can take a look at. But let's just leave it the way it is right now. I'm going to use price to earnings, price to sales, run it. And then I get my list of symbols. How many do I get? 126. So remember, these are results that are static. They don't update in real time. If I want to track these 126 symbols based on the criteria, I have to put them on to radar screen. A quick way to do that is by highlighting the symbol column. The way that I did it was just clicking on the symbol header, then right click, and you can just select copy. Then open up a new workspace, go to apps, click on radar screen, and then right click on that very first row under the symbol column, of course, and just select paste. And that will paste the 126 symbols that I saw inside of my scanner. And the nice thing about this is that now I'm looking at radar screen, and these are all real-time values. It allows me to do some further filtering of my own. For example, if I want to know out of these 126 symbols, which one is the most traded, I just double click on volume today, and it sorts in ascending order. The least traded is right here, EVI Industries Incorporated. Not sure what it does, but I'm going to double click on volume today one more time to sort in descending order. And you can see that Ford Motor is a company that met the criteria of my scan. If I go back here to scanner, Ford is going to be right here. You can see that it's a symbol between 10 and 100, which is my price criteria. I also wanted volume average to be greater than 500,000. Well, that's a given. We know that Ford trades millions and millions of shares. Market cap is 61,992 millions. And you can see all the different price changes here. So it's a stock that met the criteria, and it's the one that has the highest volume. Not to imply anything, I'm just ranking and sorting symbols based on the data that is provided. But you can see that inside of radar screen, you get real-time information, something you don't get from scanner. So if you want to see the real-time percent change, if I double click here, I can see the ones that have changed to the downside the most, being the highest one, Liberty TripAdvisor Holdings, has lost almost 5% of its value since the close of Friday. But if I double click again, you see the one that has gained the most. Camping World Holdings is the one that's gained a little bit over 5% since the close of Friday, and you can rank them that way as well. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at creating a scan of our own, and we'll walk you through the different steps. But this is the way that you are going to build it on your side. You're going to come down here to the bottom left, and you're going to click on Add. You're going to give this scan a name. Make sure that the names that you are selecting are descriptive enough so that when you come back a few months later and you look at a scan, you say, oh, I know exactly what the scan is looking for. Okay, so don't name your scan 1, scan 2, and scan 3, because you at the very end you won't know what's inside of them. So I'm going to create this. I'm going to call this price volume. Oh, I've done it before. I've done a price volume EPS Bollinger. Let's go ahead and take a look at volume. I'm going to do DMI and ADX. DMI and ADX were two studies that we looked at on Friday. If you were here on Friday's class, we talked about them. So why don't we do a scan on them? Let's take a look at price, volume, DMI, ADX. I don't have any fundamental data here, so let's go ahead and do an EPS kind of scan as well, looking at earnings per share. Just to add something fundamental to the mix, you're going to add, pretty much anything you want. Let's go ahead and click on next. Let's select the universe of symbols. I'm going to click here. What I want you guys to do is to explore the different options that you get with the scanner. As I said at the very beginning, I feel like you get much more benefit from the scanner if you're doing it on stocks. We have different exchanges here, so you can be selective as to what type of asset class you want to filter on. But the same conversation applies. If it's futures, there's only a certain limited number of futures that you can track. So why not put them all inside of radar screen? I think that's the best approach than having to filter, wanting to filter futures here. The same goes with bonds or any other instrument that has a limited number of symbols that you can follow. Although, bonds, maybe hundreds and hundreds of different bonds, but bonds are not really something that you can trade easily on TradeStation. Trading is not possible from the platforms like online. I believe that you can trade bonds with TradeStation, but you have to call those in. So it's not something that you would want to do it from the comfort of your home, scanning and see, what to trade. So what I'm trying to say here is that the scanner works great for you if you're trading stocks, because it helps you identify stocks that meet that specific criteria. So I'm going to choose all stocks. You can do all stocks, including OTC. I'm going to choose just plain all stocks. Okay. Right here at the bottom, you have a section for you to exclude certain symbols for whatever reason it is. Maybe some symbols that you don't want to see in your list ever, whatever the reason may be. For the most part, I usually don't exclude anything. I want to, sort or scan everything in the universe. Let me click next. And now you start building your scan based on the filters that you had thought of. The first thing that I'm going to do here at the very top is I'm going to look for description. If you don't know where description is inside of these folders, because a lot of times, we look for stuff here and there's stuff to find, try typing the field in. I'm going to type in DES, and notice that I can click from here and select it from all the different suggestions that it gives me. It makes it very simple, and it makes it so much easier to find things inside of the scanner. Otherwise, you'd have to, look at all the different categories here. I would think that description would be under company profile. So let me just open that. And yeah, description is under company profile. But, you can always, instead of going through here, click back inside the cell and type in a few letters of the item you're looking for. So for the operator, you must select an operator for every filter that you add in here. So you cannot just leave that blank. There is an operator that says display, which pretty much doesn't compare it to anything. Just says, find the description, display it. That's it. The second row here, I said that I wanted price. Now let me go to the drop down. I'm going to collapse company profile. And these little boxes on the left-hand side that look like check boxes, they should have a plus inside of them to imply that you can expand, and then it turns into a minus for you to collapse. I'm not seeing the plus. I'm not seeing the minus. I'm not sure if it's something with my graphics card that TradeStation is not liking. But when you use the scanner and you see these little boxes that appear as check boxes, they're not check boxes. They're just for you to expand or collapse each one of these folders. I'm going to go and expand price and then expand my close folder because I want the current close. And when I want that close to be between, notice that I can choose between. When you choose the operator between, the box here towards the right is going to split in two, allowing you to put in a starting value and an ending value. I'm going to start at $5 and I'm going to end at 50. When I do scans like this, I like to run my scans from the get-go so that I know what effect each one of these filters has on the universe. You know, we have 12,000 symbols. If I tell the scanner, look for symbols that are between 5 and 50, I want to have an idea on how many symbols make the cut and how many are dropped. So let me go ahead and click on run. And it gives me the results here. If I go to the log, it'll tell me exactly how many symbols remain. From the 12,131, I have 7,090 symbols remaining. So we knocked out about 5,000 symbols, 5,000 symbols just on price criteria. Very, very cool, huh? So let me go over here and continue on building this scan. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to open up volume. And I want to select a volume average 10-day. For any item that you see here, take a look at a description appears right here below. So if I hover over volume average 10-day, it tells me this is the daily average of the cumulative trading volume for the last 10 days. So a 10-day average. I want that to be greater than 1 million. 1 million shares doesn't seem like it's a lot if you're considering daily volume, but it is a lot. And you can tell by how many symbols get dropped by just adding this, volume filter. I'm going to click on run. And I'm still at the log tab. Take a look. From the 7,000 symbols that we had remaining, we're down to 675. So it did knock out 6,000, a little bit over 6,000 symbols just based on volume, which tells you that there's a lot of stocks out there in the universe that are very lightly traded. Now, is that a turnoff? Maybe. Is that something that you want to keep in mind when trading or opening positions? Maybe. It's up to you, but I would hate to be in a position, meaning having shares of a lightly traded stock and not being able to get out of them because there's not enough liquidity in the market. So those are things that are concerning. And a lot of times I look for stocks that have at least an average of 1 million. Can it be more? Can it be less? Of course. You have full flexibility about what these amounts can be. I see your point, Marcel, and I don't believe so. So what Marcel is asking, can you exclude futures or options by date? So in fact, when you filter, through futures or options, I don't believe it'll return expired symbols. That's something that I haven't tested. And a lot of times, a lot of my examples are on stocks because that's just the bigger universe. But if you scan through futures and stocks, I think you only get unexpired, or at least, futures or options that are being traded. We can always test that. So we have 675.
Hey, just really
Yes.
quick comment on
Yeah.
that. There, I think there's or it used to be for radar screen an indicator that was days to expiration, and it will go negative. It'll show like negative number of days or something like that sometimes when it's expired. And I don't know if that's a way to do it. Anyway, I just was thinking about it.
That's interesting. I'm not really sure. That's probably something we can test in a little moment and see if we can make it happen. For this particular one though, we'd have to remove earnings per share since it doesn't apply. But let's go ahead and try and see what we can do here on stocks. And then let's go and do something on futures and see what we get, okay? All right, so let's go here to customize. I'm going to add EPS. Since it's easier just to type it in, I'm going to type it there, EPS. I want the earnings per share for the most recent quarter to be greater than 0. So positive earnings. Let's see what effect that has. On my previous filter, I had 675. I'm going to run this again. Now I have 417. So we keep on knocking down or knocking off certain symbols. Let's go and do earnings per share for the 12 trailing months greater than earnings per share for the prior 12 trailing months. I'm going to run this. So not only you want stocks that have positive earnings, but you also want stocks that have increasing earnings from one year to the other. So 275 symbols remain. We also said that we were going to take a look at DMI. Let's go ahead and bring in my technical indicator. I'm going to use it twice because if you guys remember, the DMI indicator has 3 lines. And I'm going to do the following. I'm going to take the DMI and I want the DMI plus to be above. I'm going to take the indicator again here on the right-hand side because I wanted to compare the DMI plus to the DMI minus. So I'm going to select the DMI again here on this right side, and I want to do it right here, DMI minus. So I want the DMI plus to be greater than the DMI minus. Does that make sense? Now, I'm not really referencing here how much of a difference there is because I would have to rewrite the indicator for that. This is just looking at the 2 lines or the 2 values and looking for one to be above the other. I'm going to run this because this is going to take a while to run. And while that is running, I'm going to pull up a chart here on the right-hand side. This is going to take a little bit longer because it has to download data on 275 symbols, calculate the DMI for each one of those symbols, and do the comparison that I'm asking for. So in the meantime, I'm going to just open up a chart analysis. Okay, let me go ahead and a daily. This is a daily chart of Ford. I'm going to go to studies, add studies. Let's pull up our DMI. All right, and I'm going to link my chart. I'm going to link it to my scanner. You know, I can leave this running for a moment and come back to it. So I can always, you know, add another filter or another, I can, you know, right click data. Let's see what we can do. I cannot copy the scan because it's still running. Let me right click here, copy the scan, and then I'm going to right click inside of this area and paste the scan. Would you like to keep the previous execution? I want to say no. Do not keep the results. Then I'm going to customize this one. And the name, let's, first of all, I cannot edit the name. So that's something that I cannot change. But what I'm going to do, because so you know what? Let's go ahead and delete that one. So data, remove scan. Okay, we'll come back to it. So from the 275, 143 symbols remain. So about half of the symbols are showing a DMI greater than, or DMI plus greater than the DMI minus. For example, American Airlines. If I click on AAL, you can see that the blue is above the red. So that should be the condition on every single one here. ADT, the blue over the red. Okay. And I'm also going to look at the ADX. So let me go ahead and customize this one more time. Scan criteria. And I'm going to, again, I'm going to insert the DMI study. I can insert the DMI, which has an ADX calculation, or I can just insert the ADX directly, which I think it makes more sense. So I can come here and say, give me the ADX. And I want the ADX value to be greater than 20. That's the trigger level or the default trigger level for ADX. I'm going to run it. If you guys remember, I think I had 146 symbols. I'm just going to make sure that the symbols that I'm looking at has an ADX greater than 20, which may indicate strength on that trend. The blue over the red is just a signal that it's bullish, but the ADX will tell me how strong the trend is. Let me go to the log. And yes, you know, from the 144 symbols, about 54 symbols remain. So those are going to give me, like this one right here, ADT, which was the one that I had pulled earlier. We have the blue greater than the red, and we have an ADX value greater than 20. So that meets the criteria. If you guys remember, American Airlines was also part of the list, but it's not anymore because I think its value, let's see, let me just make sure, AAL. Yeah, you see AAL was one that we looked at earlier. The blue is over the red, but look at the value on the ADX. Very low. Okay, so those are the things you can do on the scanner. Another thing that you can also access is the added dropped, which tells you which symbols were dropped. If you can look at this column, American Airlines was dropped. After I applied the filter on the ADX, it didn't meet the criteria any longer. All right. Cool stuff. I mean, you can do so many different things on the scanner that I want to encourage everyone to think about the ideas and the different filters that you can combine so that you can get a list of symbols that you can work with. A lot of these symbols, I can just copy and transfer them over to radar screen for me to keep an eye or a close eye on what it's doing currently. Remember that the results that you get on the scanner are not real time, are not dynamic. You need to run them every single time to update the list of symbols, and that's something you can do. That's why when you open it up, when you open up any of these scans here on the left-hand side, you get a record of the date and the time that you ran it, because the results are as of that date and time. So just keep that in mind, okay? Let's take a look at this one right here, and I'm going to customize it. Let me create a new one. Let me see how this works. Futures scan. Let's look for open interest. Okay. I think that's something we can look for. So I'm going to go here for futures. I'm going to say all futures, search for all futures. Next. And I'm going to look for, let me see, open interest. Open interest, here we have all futures. Open interest, give me the top 20. So if I do that filters, what I'm expect this to do is to look at open interest and give me all the futures or the top 20 futures contract with the most open interest. Let me run this. And here we go. Oh, this is interesting. This is interesting. So we have this is the euro dollar giving us the most open interest. Although that doesn't seem like it's right. How can all these have the exact same open interest? And the open interest, yeah, I don't really trust that data. Let me go here to, yeah, it doesn't seem like it's right. Let me see if I have another one. Open interest. So we have open interest right here at the bottom as easy language. We can try this one. Let me uncheck this one. I'm going to say top. We got the top 20 run. So this is calculating. Notice the symbol universe is 1,823. So that'll take a while to run. But the question was, Marcel, if we could, bring up expired contracts into the mix. We would have to use, let's go here and stop this, customize. So that's going to be a little bit longer, but I think this will give us what we're looking for. This data field, open interest all dash futures, doesn't seem like it's giving us what we want. Let's go.
Is your symbol list only futures?
Only futures, yes. Let me go here in volume today. Let's pull that up. So I'm going to take that and I want to say volume today, also give me the top 100. I'm going to take that filter and move it up because that's a data filter. So that should give me the 100 futures contract with the most volume today. Let's run this. All right, so this is, okay, this looks better. So we have, these are ranked in alphabetical order. If we rank by volume today, we can double click and double click again. This is the ESU22. It makes sense that the volume is the same across the top 4 symbols. You're just getting variations of the same symbol. At ESU22, it's the same thing as at ESU22.D. And it's the same thing as just regular ESU22 and ESU22.D. The variation in symbology is because one gives you historical data with the continuous symbol, and the .D gives you just the day for charting purposes. But it's exactly the same symbol. That's why the volume numbers here are the same. Now, don't ask me why open interest changes. Is this open interest on the full session? Unless it's looking, well, that makes no sense. I'm not sure why there's a difference here between one and the other, but I would look at just the regular ESU.
Because one is day.
Yeah, but open interest is reported on the previous date. So this open interest doesn't change real time. So there shouldn't be a difference between the two.
No. One is only day, and the other one is 24 hours.
Yeah, I understand that, but open interest should be the same. Is the same product? What I'm trying to say. Like volume today.
You mean between number 2 and number 4, between number 3 and number 4?
Doesn't really matter. Look at volume today. Volume today is exactly the same for the 4. And that's the way that open interest should be, because it's the same product. There shouldn't be different numbers.
Yeah, but I think the session is different, so I think it's calculated differently. One is electronic in this day, and one is not.
True, but still, open interest is a value that is just whatever number of open contracts there are for the futures. So it shouldn't matter if you're looking at the day or looking at overnight. This is the outstanding, your open interest. It should be the same. So let's see. I'm not really sure where to even start, to look at expired contracts. Everything here seems to be current. We're looking at volume, so it's not looking at historical volume. I don't think it's able to pull up any expired contracts, to tell you the truth.
No, I mean to exclude expired contracts, but I see the direction you're going in. You're just looking for volume, and that automatically excludes the expired contracts.
Were you getting expired contracts when you were?
So sometimes you can do a search for certain criteria, and the ones that have already expired will still show up on my list.
In the scanner?
Right.
Or in the
so
search?
Because it's in, TradeStation, March might still show up, even though we're in June. You know what I mean?
Okay. But is it in the search or is it in the scanner?
In the
search?
because then I
Scanner.
pull the list from the scanner. It's just the fastest way for me to be able to pull symbols. But
Okay.
can you get trades, number of trades there or no?
I don't know. Let's see. Trades.
I mean, we do using the customized, I scan for trades, number of trades using the customized indicator that you created with John.
Mhm. Yeah, it doesn't seem to have trades.
Just
So
a straight number of trades to display. I guess unless you're using like I said, I guess unless you're using the custom,
I guess if you use the volume custom,
right, that you created. No, the one below.
this one.
It gives you an op, right?
Okay,
And
and
then
let's
so-
say I can say display.
And then you can switch ticks up to trades. See, it says ticks up. Right.
I want to display
I guess
ticks.
it's
No.
ticks.
Well, ticks is going to give you, well, let's see what ticks gives me.
I guess I use them differently. So I use mine's as for Forex. So
So this is giving us ticks, yeah. Ticks versus volume. So I guess, I mean, yeah, just you can have it listed multiple times. So you can have all the different columns and see all the different results. But yeah,
so
I guess
so if we go to really quick, your number 5. Is your number 5 the same as your ticks, the same as your 4?
the ticks are different
Right.
because maybe it's looking at the ticks from an indicator perspective. Yes, now the sessions have a big impact on what is being read.
Right.
But from columns that are supposed to be data columns, they should be the same. You see how the volume is exactly the same between 4 and 5? But yeah, on an indicator, since it's looking at the sessions and it's excluding
Right.
certain portions of the day, it makes sense for
Right.
the yes.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Right.
All
Okay.
right, Marcel.
Just curious. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you for the question.
That's
Okay.
yeah. Thanks.
All right. So guys and gals, thank you so much for your time. This ends my class. Today is Monday. Tomorrow we have Ask the Experts at 11:30. And I think we have a technical class tomorrow. We're going to talk about custom indicators, I believe, and how to apply them on TradeStation. So some of the topics we've done in the past, but it's always great to review them. I want to thank you for your support, and I hope to see you in a future class right here in Masterclass. Have a great day. Thank you for joining me today.